As mentioned, the first part to building our polyfill is going to have to be to determine whether that callback function is a function. So let's get into it. Let's start building our polyfill. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new file, and I'm just going to call that polyfill. And what we want this polyfill to do is we want it to be on the prototype of every array. So we've got to access the array object in JavaScript. On its prototype, we're wanting to define a new function called forEach. Now in this instance, you and I know that our browser natively supports it, but because I'm doing it this way, I'm actually going to be overriding the normal functionality of forEach. So in effect, we're going to be creating a brand new polyfill, a brand new function. We know that this forEach is a method, and this method takes two arguments. The first argument is a callback function. In our case, let's just call it callback. We can call it whatever we want. And remember, the second argument was what we wanted to define this as. Let's just call this this argument, or arg this. And there you have it. This is how we've started building our polyfill. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to check whether the callback is a function. And we do this by using JavaScript's inbuilt method called typeOf. It's an operator. So what we want to do is we want to test if typeOf, the callback, if that is not a function, then what do we want to happen? Well, we want to stop our code because it has to be a function. So what we want to do is we want to throw a new type error. And what we want to do is we want to throw back that callback, and we want to say is not a function, just so the user has some feedback about what it is they did wrong. And we know if this doesn't throw a type error, then our code can continue. We can continue our code here. So there you have it. Let's test whether this code works or whether we've done anything wrong. The first thing I can actually spot here, I haven't even tested it yet, is I should have actually had two equal signs here, because I'm actually wanting it to be of the same type as function. So let's see if this works. Let's clear our console and let's run. Of course, I haven't actually executed the function, the forEach function. So what I must do here is let's define a new array. Let array equals milk, honey, and sugar. And now let's access our forEach method we've just built. forEach. And let's just execute it. Let's not pass in a function. What do you think will happen? Well, let's try and run it. Uncaught type error. Undefined is not a function. This is exactly the error that we've thrown here. That's why we actually throw an error. I mean, even if you put in something that's not a function, like, I don't know, let's do console log A, for example. Let's run that. Sorry, we've actually defined already. Let's refresh, clear the console and run it. There we go. Console log A is not a function. So this just shows you why we actually throw an error, because we're giving feedback to the user saying, hey guys, you have to actually pass a function in the forEach method. So let's do that. Let me show you, so what does that mean? All right, well, let's throw a function. So let's pass it a function. There you go. In this instance, the function is completely empty. So let's refresh the page, clear the console. Let's run this function. And there you go. We haven't had an error. And we can even test our code by saying, cool, well, if an error hasn't been thrown, let's just go console log. Yay, we can continue. So there you go. Let's see if this works. Let's run our function. And you can see log to the screen is yay, we can continue. And this proves that our callback is actually a function. Awesome, right? So this is the first part to building our own polyfill. But you can see we're not done by any means, because we haven't even gotten to what the callback function should do. And that is iterate through our array and then allow us to manipulate and work with the item and the index. Let's see how to do that shortly.